What is up, my friends? You are most welcome along to Sunday night's late night agenda. As always, I appreciate you giving up some of your weekend to come and have a chat with me. And we're going to be going through it all as usual tonight, asking where we're at with Liverpool's transfer business, what's on the horizon, what can we expect, and of course everything else that you guys want to go through over the next 90 minutes or so. I am here to answer your questions, to give you as much information as I can, and I really appreciate you guys all dropping in. Right, a couple of quick things I have to get up as well. So firstly, thank you very much for this one. Paul Summerfield, member with us. Appreciate you, Paul. Paul has said, can't wait for the start of the season. I'm with you, mate. For me, I agree. For the start of the season is going to be great, but it'd be nicer if we had some transfer business to talk about, right? Another one from Doreen as well. And Doreen, thank you for being with us. 12 months as an Anfield Agenda member. Really, really appreciate that support. Said, hi Craig, hope this window gets better. It can't get any worse. I agree. It can't get any worse, or can it? Well, let me just read you out something, Doreen, and everybody else, that really freaked me out. It's a simple post about a centre-back that Liverpool are interested in. And it isn't the link to the player that worries me, Doreen. It's the reasoning behind why we're waiting. I kid you not, this has been reported, and it said, Liverpool are keen on signing Kossounou, centre-back from Leverkusen. No issues with that. That's absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever with that. The problem comes is that Liverpool, to fund the €40 million signing, would be looking to sell Nat Phillips and Reece Williams to pay for it. Excuse me? We think that those two players are going to get us anywhere near that type of money, or even that it's realistic to have to wait to sell them? A player in Reece Williams' case who hasn't even been training alongside the first team because Arne Slot doesn't seem as part of the plans. Nat Phillips, somebody who must have been on the fringe of leaving Liverpool now for 4 years, but yet still we can't find the buyer. Nat's a good defender, a good, honest, solid pro. I've no issues with that. But it does speak to the lack of business at the club. How is it we've gone from a club that have been able to historically bring in some really good transfer fees for fringe players or players that weren't going to make it long term at Liverpool? But these days things have all changed and we're struggling to move anybody on. First super chat of the night, and thank you Danny for this. Really appreciate your support on this one. You guys of lately have been absolutely incredibly generous with super chats and stuff. Said, hey legend, happy with the All-Ireland final. You'll never walk alone. For those of you who don't know what it means, Clare won the All-Ireland final today, beating Cork, and congratulations to Clare on becoming All-Ireland hurling champions. I normally don't watch it, but I tuned in and what a game it was. And thank you mate for your super chat. Shane, how are you, bro? Welcome in. Lovely to see you with us as well today. Let me just bring your chat up on screen, Shane, and thank you for it. Shane said, hey, Craig, hope you've had a good weekend. By the way, hurling, bloody hell. Did you get to watch any of the game? I watched it, and I don't normally watch hurling, but something made me just click into it to watch it, Shane, and it was incredible. It was absolutely enthralling stuff, all the way to extra time as well, and well done to Clare. Appreciate that as well, Shane. Thank you for your support. Steve Rolls, how are you, sir? Let me get your comment up on screen as well. Steve said, let me just get it up on screen so we can read it out together. Hi, Craig. Hope everyone is well. We will make transfers. I'm trying to be positive. You'll never walk alone. Look, I love that positivity, mate. I do. But I don't have much hope for positivity at the minute, or optimism, other than a post from maybe Fabrizio Romano, who does say that Liverpool are working on deals behind the scenes, nothing new, but don't worry. Now look, that's great to hear, but you know what it is again? It's another journalist telling us that we are working on stuff, but no names. It's very, I could come on here and do that. Doesn't take a genius to come on here and go, Liverpool are working on deals. Don't you be worrying, folks. Stuff is a-happening. Who are those deals? I don't know. It's easy to just make stuff up. It's easy to come out there and just say that we are doing stuff. Give us some names. Journalists that claim to know that Liverpool are doing business. Who are these signings? Again, I'm not doubting Fabrizio Romano. I very much hope that he's true. I hope that he's telling the truth, but I don't know who these signings are. Another super chat that I bring up on screen, and again, thank you so much, my friend. Howdy, Craigo. How's life? Missed the last few streams. Good to be back in the chat. Got a song coming out on Friday, first time of the year, so can't wait. As always, much love, and you'll never walk alone. Really proud of you, mate. First song, is it your first one coming out? But either way, a song being released on Friday. Always love to hear of success stories, mate. So do let us know how it gets on. And of course, Finley, thank you for your continued support of the channel, mate. Really means a lot. Right, here we go. Whitehammer. I know when Whitehammer comes in, it's usually going to be a fairly strongly worded post because, you know, he's like myself, Whitehammer. He's not backwards and coming forwards. And Whitehammer said, Craig, we all know Edwards. This is the way. I hope it's the way, but I hope it gets done. I don't understand, mate, why we still haven't done any business in this window. But in fairness, yes, Edwards does like to do things under the radar. There's one problem with that, though. Edwards isn't the one taking care of our transfers. Edwards is overseeing all of the football operations, but it's Richard Hughes that's doing the transfer business. So we have no idea what to expect with Mr. Hughes, although we, of course, should be given the benefit of the doubt. Haynes Carlson, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC. Appreciate your support. Giant Gift said, I like Coop Miners. Cool. You'll get to see a lot of him in Juventus next season, most likely, because that's probably where he's going. The whole Coop Miners thing, mate, blows my mind, because there's no denying that we've been linked, interested, but we could have gotten him a long, long time ago. He wasn't at the Euros. He's somebody that Liverpool could have brought in if indeed we wanted him. And it looks like Juventus are trying to make him the final piece of their midfield rebuild jigsaw. So I don't really hold out much hope that we are going after Coop Minders, nor do I think that he's the best fit. But that being said, it is at least somebody who we have been linked to that you're fond of. I just don't think it's going to happen personally. Right, Justin. Super chat from Justin Merrifield. Thank you very much, Justin. Justin said, hey Craig, I hope you're well. I've been seeing links to Ederson again. What do you think? You know what I think. You know what I think, bro. And I hope that those links are true, because he's the very type of player that I think ticks a lot of boxes for us. Reasonably priced, available, good enough, plenty of sample size of games to look at, played against the guy, won the Europa League with Atalanta, on the fringe of really making it big with the Brazilian national team. So I'm right with you. The only thing is, it's just all the same stuff, keeping an eye on, monitoring, looking at, but yet we've not seen a bid really come through as of yet. And that's the frustrating part for me. Although I'm not on my own, as is about to be shown by our friend Whitehammer again. But it's frustrating as hell. It is. It is, mate. It's frustrating as hell. But I never want to rain on people's parade who are being optimistic or who have positivity in their mind, because I love that. You should be you should be positive. You should be optimistic going into every season. It just feels like we're dawdling. Is that the right word? Waiting around. And also, it looks like Arsenal have tied up that deal for Calafiori. Report coming out from Sky Sports that said Arsenal appear to be closing in on the signing of centre-back Ricardo Calafiori for a fee of £42.1 million. It looks like Arsenal are going to strengthen what was the best defence in the Premier League again with another good signing. Repeat what we said before about Arsenal, letting it be known they're strengthening from a position of strength. Colin said that he's reasonably priced and available. We'll keep it in mind, Colin, mate. We'll keep it in mind. Right, I want to get through some more comments as well. So, would you still take Andre Trinidad? Said Anirud. Excuse me if I've mispronounced your name, my friend. Would I? No. No, I wouldn't. Sorry I paused before I answered your question, but I was thinking it through. So what we know at the moment is that Andre Trinidad is available. Now, I believe Dave O.C. Kopp made a mistake with a post that he said earlier on. He posted to say that Liverpool made an offer for Andre back in January. We've looked into the quotes, and I think it's a genuine mistake from Dave. I'm not going in on the guy, but we think he's wrong. The quote that he's attributing that to was worded as follows. Fulham are the club that have been looking at Andre since last year, as well as Liverpool. In January, they made a new bid. At the moment, what we have is a piece of paper from Fulham with a proposal, and a piece of paper from Fluminense with a counter proposal. We don't have an answer yet. I don't know how somehow Dave has ended up thinking that that means Liverpool made an offer for Andre in January. It clearly means that Fulham had previously made that offer in January for Andre and have come back in from since they've sold João Palhinha, and it looks like they will sign him for about £25 million there or thereabouts. So, again, not trying to call out anybody, but when you look into these things, there isn't really cause for optimism there because we didn't put that proposal in. Now, to get back to your question, the reason that I wouldn't sign him now is because we had the chance to do it. We had the chance to do it when we knew he was going to be available, and we still didn't move. We sat back and we've allowed him to continue on developing and playing. And we're now in our third year looking for somebody in that position. So I don't think we're going to revisit and settle for somebody that we've already passed up and had the opportunity to sign. And I have higher targets at this point. Now it will be interesting because, of course, if he does go to Fulham, we will get to see Andre Trinidad in the Premier League. Do you think we're going to make signings? Yes, I do, mate. I do think we're going to make some signings. Can I ask you guys a really weird non-football related question for 2 seconds because my wife asked me to ask you? We got talking last night and weirdly it came on to the conversation about milk. As in, yes, milk, pint of milk. And my wife wants to know, is it just an Irish thing or does every teenage lad around the world at some point go through a phase of having pints of milk with their lunch? So whether that's a takeaway, a pizza, a sandwich, there's this thing in Ireland where you often see young lads go through a phase of having a pint of milk. And I was one of those people. So I just wanted to know, my wife wants to know, is it a global phenomenon or is it a very Irish thing? Yes, in the US, not here, said Connor. Well, Connor, you're Irish if you're saying nah, not here. It's definitely an Irish thing, mate. It definitely is. Yes, for bulking. Only an Irish thing, said Anthony. I was one of those, said Foxy. So was I, mate. Used to go to the chipper in store, get a bag of chips at lunchtime and a pint of milk. And I just wondered, was it a very Irish thing or is it something that growing teenage fellas pick up from their fathers or whatever as we're going through our sporting journey? Webby said 43, English and still like a pint of the white stuff. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. Occasionally as well. I love a glass of milk. Look, I know people sometimes drink a glass of milk if they're having something spicy, like if you go for that extra hot Nando's or something, maybe. So sorry for going off topic there, but I promised my wife I'd ask the question. Right, so Ten Hag, Ten Lasso, Seven Hag, whatever you'd like to call him. He's been speaking about Arne Slot. He said, we haven't had contact yet, but that will happen. It's fantastic that Arne has achieved what Arne has achieved at Feyenoord and how he's helped that club to get back on track. And the football that Liverpool prefers to play also suits Arne Slot completely. I think it's a very good match. Fair enough. Interesting. Nice to hear from Mr. Ten Lasso. But ultimately, I hope that he rams Roy Keane's comments back down his throat. You've probably seen the short I made. If you didn't, or the TikTok I made. We're speaking about Roy Keane's comments yesterday as well, where he said that Liverpool fans wouldn't have really known who Arne Slot was and probably had to Google him. That Liverpool aren't going to be a force this season. That we've a striker who doesn't score goals and a centre-back in Virgil Van Dijk whose best days are behind him. Thoughts? I think it's just Keane being Keane, but until we start doing transfer business, maybe some of his arguments hold weight. Andrew said, if I was a pro player, I would be ambitious as possible. There's no future at Liverpool, a lack of pay, squad improvements. I don't blame anybody for rejecting us. Now, I agree with a lot of that, Andrew. You've made some points there that I certainly would be on your side on, but not a lack of pay. You know, Liverpool do pay decent wages. We might not pay the super 500-600 grand a week stuff, but we certainly do pay good wages to the players. I find it hard to feel sympathy for the likes of Trent or Virgil on 10 million quid a year. So on that one, I disagree. But the rest of what you've said, look, it isn't The club isn't projecting positivity at the minute. The club is allowing a lot of negative stuff to creep into the media unchallenged. The whole situation about Virgil van Dijk and Trent and their futures. A lot has been written to, how do I say this, undermine Liverpool over the last 72 hours on it. And we'll talk about it tonight. But not many rebuttals. Not many responses of, no, that's not true, nothing to it. It's getting worrying. Want to get this super chat up though before I go back in and discuss it in more detail. Where are we? Oh, sorry, Nathan. I brought it up on screen and then I took it down off screen. Let me bring it up again. Hopefully that goes back up for you. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. It's not the fact that we need to sell to buy to get players, but what I need to know, FSG, is where has the 120 million that you bid for Kossounou gone? At this point, the obvious money has to be used to get players. It's a good question and it's a fair question. Now, somebody could answer it and say to you some of the money was used for Gravenberch, Endo and a few others. But ultimately, the fact, Nathan, that I can't put my mind at ease with is, why is the solution for us, when the first one doesn't work, always the cheaper option? Always. Whether it's centre-backs, none out there that Liverpool feel comfortable signing, let's bring in Ben Davies, Ozan Kabak as make-weights. Liverpool midfielder search. No, we don't need one, we don't need one, we don't need one. Okay, we do need one, but we're going to sign a lone player in Arthur Melo because we left it so late in the window when it's desperate. Again, the cheap option. Only also a waste of money, which is interesting. This came out earlier on from Marca that said it's likely that Real Madrid's transfer business for the summer is done. It's over. To be fair, they have just brought in Kylian Mbappe, but I don't know how much I believe that. I think that Real Madrid do have a stance, and that stance is they want players in on low fees with low length of time in the contract, or they want them for free, and that just adds to my worry and concern about Trent. Because I've not yet seen one story written to say there's zero credibility to Trent wanting to go to Madrid or weighing up his options. And an article that came out has only increased my concern. Let me just find it for you. Does this make sense to anybody else? This article said, Liverpool are reportedly expected to officially hold Trent Alexander-Arnold contract talks before the end of the year. Not the end of the week, the month, the window. Liverpool are apparently going to hold contract talks with Trent before the end of the year. When, what? He leaves for free then? If Trent isn't committing to a deal right now, this minute, this week, this day, then he's already had his head turned. If you can't get him tied up and signed on to a new deal before the summer transfer window closes, then Trent is sailing off into the sunset, or you're about to reverse truckloads of money to Mr. Alexander-Arnold's house in order for him to stay. He either loves the club and wants to stay or he doesn't. There's no middle ground on this. We can't yet again look like placating little simps who sit back and allow these things to happen. There's no sense to that. You either convince him now or he doesn't want to be here. It's that simple. I don't understand how it's a debate. If you allow him and start talking about at the end of the year, then best case scenario is you pay him Marcus Rashford stupidity money. Worst case scenario is off he pops to Real Madrid for free. And I don't know how any journalist can write that crap and not push back on it. Who are they kidding? This narrative about Liverpool being really calm and relaxed and cool about all these contract extensions is absolute nonsense. How can you be relaxed about it? Because if Trent leaves, that's an indication of exactly what our friend said earlier on. That people are looking at the situation at Liverpool and aren't seeing much positivity or much reason for optimism, or don't believe in the plan or the pathway of the coach and the way the club are going around their business. That's what we need to start talking about. These players need to be convinced, so let's do some fucking convincing. Make signings, show ambition. Last night's stream title was no transfer or no money, no ambition, no trophies. And that's what's being projected right now into the world by the football club. Opposition fans are having a field day. Journalists are sticking the boot in left, right and centre. Everybody else is going about their business and showing the world that they're serious. And what are we doing? We're again being polite, respectful, sitting back. We're getting mugged off. That's what we're doing. And surely to God, somebody with a backbone at the club is going to finally stand up and resolve these situations. Sepp van den Berg shouldn't even be training with the team now. Sepp van den Berg should be blackballed off to the side until he apologises for his statement about the club. But no, our journalists, they're writing that Sepp's the solution. That Arne Slot's been so impressed with him. Nothing about him being belittling of the club. That's already fine, apparently. Fuck you, it's not fine. It's disgusting. It's not good enough. He should be told to apologise or frozen out. Sell him. And if nobody wants to pay the fee Liverpool are asking, that should be a bit of an indication all around. Because remember, nobody's willing to pay €20 million or £17 million for Sepp van den Berg, but you and I are supposed to believe that he's the saviour. You and I are supposed to believe the centre-back who nobody else wanted to spend £17 million for is all of a sudden good enough to make us title contenders. That does not make sense. Doesn't compute. Doesn't add up. As I tell you guys all the time, I love to read through comments from other Liverpool fans on other platforms. And this one said, Liverpool must be one of the very few clubs that can't seem to get rid of fringe players. Either Liverpool overvalues them or nobody is interested. We're always reading different clubs have expressed an interest in, but they either go out on loan or their contracts run out. Nat Phillips is a prime example. Then we have the other equation. Top players run down their contracts and leave for free. Strange way to conduct business. Now, anybody disagree with what that person had to say? Because I think what they've said is pretty much spot on. It has been what's happened. Players run down their deals and leave for free. And they're doing it again. The fringe players, how many years have we been selling Nat Phillips? How many years have we been selling Reece Williams? Only for nobody seems to want to pay the money for them. And every year the numbers get lower and still no interest. But we're supposed to believe that they're good enough for us. How can we get these contradictory statements all the time? Liverpool put a price tag on X, but yet is in the plans. And I'll give you a good example of this today. Today a piece was written that said, Liverpool would want around £75 million for Luis Diaz and would only sanction a sale once a replacement is lined up. But the same publication a couple of weeks ago said Liverpool have no intention of selling. There isn't a number. So why all of a sudden is there numbers being thrown around? It's not like Barcelona have ramped up their interest in Diaz. In fact, they've gone the other direction. And for us to bring somebody in before we move him on, chance would be a fine thing. But it's not looking likely. Nor is the interest there in him. And I'm cool with that, because I've nothing against Lucho. But again, contradictory statements that are continuously being published to just twist the narrative. And it's not good enough. Sorry, I have a couple of super chats I need to catch up on. Maddie, how are you, mate? Said, I'm really worried the way FSG are acting. We could be set for another Hodgson era. All our best players leave and we end up with crap players. So at that time, Liverpool didn't have a lot going for them. We were in transition. The club hadn't got much money. The owners were an absolute disgrace. And yes, the Hodgson era was dark days. But those days should well and truly be behind us. Lots of other stuff have happened and the club have pushed on in the right direction. And I think most of us would agree, we're not too far away from being where most of us feel we're ready to compete. But we can't have a window that the narrative and the conversation is strictly about Trent, Mo and Virg, their contracts. Will they or won't they sign? Us bringing in money from selling players. It's all just treading water, making excuses, so that when we overpay to keep one or two of these people, it's heralded as a success. and pitched accordingly to us fans. Don't fall for it. Demand better. Speak up. You know we need 3 signings. They know we need 3 signings. The journalists know we need 3 signings. All these people, like Fabrizio, who were saying, don't worry, Liverpool are working on deals. Who the fuck are they? If you know, you know. If you don't know, shut up. But they seem to just want to keep stringing us along. And some people are happy to lap it up. Stevie Boy, thank you for your super chat. Said, Liverpool can't renew contracts, let alone sell players. It's a shambles. So here's the thing about it, mate. These 3 contracts that we're talking about, this has been going on a year. Every time there's an excuse. Firstly, the club are in no rush. The club will plan on speaking with them. This is 2 years ago, between now and Christmas. That came, nothing happened. Then it was, the club are going to speak to them before the end of the season. Then Jurgen announced that he was departing. Then it became, the players don't want to commit until they know, understandably, who the next coach is going to be. When the coach was brought in, all we heard was Liverpool players have been very impressed by the selection of Arne Slot as the next coach. The vibes from behind the scenes are good. Yeah, here we are. Not one of them signed a new deal. Not one. Every day that goes by, they get further and further away from doing it. Every day that goes by, the club are going to have to pay more and more money if they want to keep them. Or you lose them and then have to pay a load of money to replace them. How is it clever? How is this strategy working? 12 players left the club recently, 8 of them for free. And now we're staring down the barrel of 3 more for free. Do you think the job is too big for Richard Hughes? No, I don't, Alex. Again, I find it very difficult to lay any blame on the shoulders of people who've just come in the door. Because ultimately, they can only do what they're allowed to do financially. So, I don't know if Richard Hughes has tried to sign 4 players and somehow we've messed it all up. Haven't got a clue. Don't know if he hasn't tried to sign any players. But I know we haven't signed any yet. So, Mr. Wolf Hound Gaming, thank you for your super chat, said, get FSGO trending again. So, I have a bit of a dilemma with this situation. Because the whole FSGO stuff is fair enough. But all you're going to be met with is, who's going to be next? If you get rid of these owners, who do you think the next owner is going to be? And there is some validity to that. It is some scaremongering, but we also have to acknowledge that there's some truth to it. If FSG sold the club tomorrow, what are the likely scenarios? 1, a state-backed fund comes in and buys the club. Like an Abu Dhabi, Dubai, something like that. Option 2, another investment firm, somewhat like Clearlake Capital or Todd Bowley or FSG or some venture capitalists, come in, buy the club again. Not going to be too dissimilar to FSG, probably. Or option 3, which is the one that we'd all hope for, which is a billionaire businessman or woman with some spare time perhaps and lots of ambition, wants to get involved with a sports team and win, and is willing to do everything to do it. That's the best case scenario. So I don't know that I'm at the point of wanting to hound FSG out. I am at the point of wanting to hound them and embarrass them into finally doing something and to show this ambition. Because if they don't show the ambition to win, then yeah, then we have that conversation. But right now, it's silence. It's quietness. It's nothing from these owners. So as bad as I feel about transfers, I have to be careful when I talk about FSG out. Because we need to see what the alternatives are. And I don't think it's going to happen. Because like I've said yesterday, I feel like they'll only sell when they get to the point that they feel like every penny has been... What's the phrase I'm looking for? Rinsed out of the club in value. They don't want to sell and then see the club go up $500 million in a year's time in value. They'll feel like that was money left on the table. Cahill, you didn't put a comment in, mate, but thank you for your super chat. Super chat, excuse me. How do I meet Mike for Liverpool versus Arsenal? Russian Honey Badger. Mark is going to add you or give you the link to our Discord, mate. Our chief moderator, Mark, will touch base with you and find a way to get you into the Discord group, in which case you'll then be able to interact with Mike. So yes, we'll get that one figured out for you, mate. Don't worry. We will make sure that Mike has a way, or you have a way of contacting him. Ian Cahill. Thank you, Ian, for your super chat. Ian said, WWE should take over Liverpool. Didn't they just come together with like the UFC, with some new kind of super company or something like that took them over, if I'm not mistaken? Another super chat came in really quickly as well from Nathan Allen. Thank you, Nathan. I think they're expecting Slot to be the new Klopp and to be a miracle worker, to work with what he has got. But with United getting players, which is surprising, and Arsenal there, the miracles won't work now. So, even if Jurgen was here now, and let's imagine he is for a second, just for the sake of argument. So if Jurgen was still at the club, I think we'd still be asking the same thing, Nathan. We need these 3 signings. We need a centre-back, we need a midfielder, we need a forward. So, it should be even increased more, in my opinion now, with some uncertainty over the coach. It's not screaming confidence, is it? It's not screaming that after a long, exhaustive search, they found the guy and they're backing him. Everything has been about improving players on the training pitch. And there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. Of course you want your coach to improve players by coaching them. But it has to be supplemented. Best case scenario, if we didn't do business, we're going to end up with more injuries again next season. Because a lot of people have had a short summer. 3 weeks for a lot of these guys, especially the ones that were deep in international tournaments. Shortened pre-season to get ready for the new season. And then, of course, there's the player welfare issue. That isn't just a Liverpool problem. It's a problem in football in general. And that's going to lead to a lot of injuries. Liverpool had the second most amount of injuries last season. So, we're not exactly filling our squad with the most robust of players. All points to need more signings to me. It's KDS. Thank you for being with us as a member, mate, for 11 months. You're very kind indeed. Said, don't understand why we haven't bought yet. So, the answer you're going to get from people, mate, is Richard Hughes said, he told us. Why are we all getting worked out? Richard Hughes told us. Don't expect much in July. August will be when we'll sign players. Except I don't think that's at all what he said. I think he said the market will probably be fairly quiet in July and it will come to a crescendo in August. Speaking about the transfer market in general. And he was, in my opinion, incorrect on that one. Because United didn't hang around till August. They've brought in 2 signings, working on a third. Arsenal, they're doing their business. City have done business. In fact, as I've said, 18 Premier League clubs have done business with regards to incomings. So, what are we waiting for is a very valid question. There's only so many legs and days and excuses you'll get out of new coach, new backroom team, yada yada. The excuses that are coming out don't make sense to me. Arne Slot wants to look at his squad. That's okay, but he'll only be looking at the fringe players because a lot of the senior players, well, he won't get a chance to work with them yet. And by the time he gets a chance to work with them, the season's going to be very close to being underway. And he's not going to have much time to make a decision. But most importantly, he's not supposed to be in charge of transfers. So we should know as a club, a sporting director's job is to know what positions we need to fill and fill them. We were told Arne Slot isn't going to have an input. So why all of a sudden are the excuses that Arne Slot wants to look at his squad? Cahill, thank you, mate, for your super chat. Very kind. I think, honestly, Cahill, I think this is in history of the channel the first €6 super chat we've ever had. Sorry, these weird little things like that really make me smile. But anyway, thank you, Cahill. And Cahill said, Craig, I'm very worried about signings. We should not be backing off. We're Liverpool Football Club. We should not just be in for bargains. I agree. Look, I know a lot of the time I'm coming on here and I'm repeating myself, but every day is a new day, and every day the stories become more concerning rather than uplifting. So let me fill you in on how last night ended. If you're with us on the live stream, you probably know this. If you didn't, it ended with 3 varying stories about Virgil van Dijk's future. Those 3 stories were as follows. 1, Liverpool are really calm, Virgil's really calm, there's goodwill on both sides, and they're confident that in the next few months an extension will be sorted out. So that was one thing. The second thing was that Virgil van Dijk has given the green light to the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia to make a bid to Liverpool to bring him over to Saudi this summer. They went on to say that Liverpool would ask for about €55 million for the player. So that was number 2. And then the third one was that Atletico Madrid are coming in for Virgil van Dijk and have already contacted the club about making a bid. None of that is really great stuff, is it? And it's also distracting from the fact that we need a replacement for Virgil, competition for Virgil, a future leader in our defence. It's all been about what we're not doing in this window so far, and that's really concerning. Lynn said, don't make sense to sign late, as then you need time to integrate the players into the squad. Not going to start well in the new season if the squad doesn't work well as a team. So the problem with the situation we're in, Lynn, is a couple of things. 1, the fixtures fell in our favour. Remember, I said this to you before, the Athletic looked through the opening 5 fixtures for every Premier League club and ranked them in difficulty from 1 to 20. 1 being the most difficult opening fixtures, 20 being on paper the easiest opening fixtures. And we were 20th. So on paper, Liverpool have a chance to go out and lay down a marker, to go out and to put the points on the board. What we don't want to happen is Liverpool having to play catch up. City are very good leaders when they get in front. Arsenal, they're going to be looking to make a statement early doors. We have to make sure we're there or thereabouts. And to do that, you want as strong a squad as possible. Yes, you want relationships built on the training ground. You want people to understand their movements of their teammates, the runners. But you also have to go out there and put fear into your opposition. And when you've got Roy Keane and other pundits talking about Liverpool's lack of business, the lack of the manager being a big headline name, some of the senior players not committing to the club, midfielders, as Keane said, that were brought in from mid-table clubs elsewhere, that's not exactly going to scare the shit out of anybody, is it? Some of this is psychological. We often have conversations during the courses of seasons about why teams roll over for City but put up a fight against us. The answer to that is because they feel like there's a chance against us. They feel like if they go ahead or they weaken us, that we'll wobble. That did not used to be the case. This has only really crept in the last couple of seasons. Used to be, teams hated the idea of playing Klopp's Liverpool. Used to be that they knew they were in for a really difficult 90 minutes. Now, they're getting a bit more ballsy. So that's one of the reasons why teams, I wouldn't say they roll over for City, but they fear them. Teams come to Anfield now and feel like they can get something. Nathan, thank you very much for your super chat again, Nathan. I think that's your 3rd one of the evening, mate. Really, really kind. Slot needing to look at his squad is BS. FSG tried to spend 100 million on a midfielder. So then, as owners, know we need a midfielder before he came in. Edwards knows because he's been here before. That's BS. I don't disagree, but it's just another excuse. They're all just excuses, in my mind, Nathan. Slot isn't in charge of transfers. That's one of the things we need to just keep repeating. Edwards and Hughes, mainly Hughes, is the guy. Some people have asked me before to explain what a sporting director does. And the best way I've tried to explain a sporting director to everybody is that he's the guy who sets the football philosophy at the club. He's the guy who makes sure the players that come in to the under 14s, 16s, 18s, 21s are all brought in to play in the Liverpool way, to suit the systems that Liverpool play, whether that's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, all the way through. The idea, in theory, is that coaches are interchangeable. So if you take out Jurgen, you drop in a new coach, that things don't really change too much because the system, the structure, the type of football, that's set, the tone is set by the sporting director. So he also, or she, takes care of transfers because you need to plan as a football club for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Managers, they change around a lot. We were very fortunate with Jurgen, we got 9 years, but it's not the norm. So that's why a sporting director is so important. If, let's say, Arne Slot was sacked 6 months into the job, which of course we hope doesn't happen, then the theory is that the next coach that comes in will be brought in to play in a way that we already play, with players who are used to that system. And that was one of the reasons why we went a little bit back on... Sorry, I distracted myself from Ian Cahill Super Chat. Sorry, Ian. Ian said I missed a €10 Super Chat. I'll go back to it in a second, Ian. Sorry. It's just me tonight, mate. I'm running the background system as well, so bear with me while I try and find that one for you, Eno. I've seen another €2 one, Ian, that said we should take WWE. And then... I can't see it, Ian. Oh, there it is. I see it now, Ian. Sorry. My apologies, sir. FSG need to fuck off, I'll say it for you. They don't care about the club. All they care about is losing money. They're cheap. They need to back Slot. I think our supporters need to be heard. They need to back Slot. And you've got a lot of likes on that comment, so I think a lot of people, were right there with you, mate. And I do apologise for missing your initial comment, mate. Especially when you spent your good hard-earned money. That's on me, bro. Apologies. There's a couple more, though, that I need to get back up. This one here from LFC Cal over in California. How are you? Said, this is starting to feel like Hodgson's transfer window. Fair or no? I would say no. Because, one, we knew we'd no money. It was clear. We were told. The line was we hadn't got any money at that time because of the financial crisis and the way the owners were. So we knew our business was going to be cheap and cheerful. A lot of free signings and players like that. We haven't been told there isn't any money available because they can't tell us there isn't any money available because it simply isn't true. And another thing is, Hodgson brought players in at least. Now, they weren't great, but, your Joe Coles, your Milan Jovanovics, your Christian Poulsens, at least bodies were added in. At the moment, we're getting some version of there isn't a player on the earth that's good enough to be our central midfielder or centre back. That's kind of the narrative we're getting. 3 years of searching for a central midfielder, but apparently he doesn't exist. He isn't good enough. Nobody. Despite all the people who've been available. Teams feel like they can score against us and have no fear, said Jamrock. They do, and they feel like they can bully us, mate. Can I ask a really provocative question? So the Virgil Van Dijk situation got me thinking. What if, and this is hypothetical, what if there is a thought process of cashing in on Virgil in this summer's window? What if they do think getting £50 million in, as an example, for a 33-year-old centre-back could help fund a new one? Now, I'm just interested in your thoughts. I'm going to put up a poll because I really do want to know how you think about it, but I'm just trying to figure out how to best word it. So, should LFC consider a £50 million fee for VVD this summer? Yes or no? So, should Liverpool consider a £50 million fee for Virgil this summer? Yes or no? Now look, I have to say, my own want and hope is for Virgil to stay. But if he isn't signing a new deal, I would rather we got money now than played him for another year and then lost him for free. I also don't like Virgil as captain. and I've said this many times throughout the season, I love Virgil the centre-back. And I want Virgil the centre-back around. I just don't like the way he leads the team. I don't like his style of captaincy. I don't like it because I think it's infectious. I think that languid, laid-back attitude seeps into the rest of the team and doesn't give the fire in your belly that I'm absolutely convinced is the right way to inspire people. So I'm only bringing up the question, as I said, because it was in an article suggesting that Liverpool are open to that number if indeed we were to sell this summer. Didn't we spend 160 million last year, said Kieran Christians. So, yes, but that's not the net spend. The net spend was 90 million. And that's the biggest net spend in the tenure of FSG as Liverpool owners. So that was a rebuild year. And in that rebuild year, Kiran, apologies if I mispronounced your first name, by the way. Apologies on that one. But even in that rebuild year, we were still outspent by 5 other clubs. So let that one sink in for you, mate. And that was our rebuild year. And not just any 5 other clubs, competitors. So there's never... You'll never say no to doing good business. And net spend is important. But we also aren't selling on those fringe players. Remember the days we used to get the Jordan Ibe money? You know, we used to fleece Bournemouth for players like Solanke, who wasn't great back then. Jordan Ibe, another example. Brad Smith, another one. We did a deal that we sold Paul Stewart. Or Kevin Stewart to Hull, and we brought in Andy Robertson for the same money. So we used to be good at getting money out of clubs, but these days, not so much. We're allowing players to walk out the door for nothing. Bash Van Dijk, thank you for your super chat, mate. You didn't put a comment in, or a super sticker, I should say, bro. Thank you, appreciate you. Brewster, yeah, that was another good one. Brewster, yeah. Now look at us. Nat Phillips, can't get rid of the lad. And I say that respectfully, by the way, because Nat Phillips is a good, honest pro. Reece Williams couldn't even break in and get a game up at Aberdeen. So he's wandering around. We can't move players on. Sepp van den Berg, a centre-back who did really well at Mainz, who's wanted by PSV Eindhoven, Mainz, Bologna and a few others, but yet apparently isn't worth £17 million. But is good enough, according to some of the journalists, to be our solution instead of buying a centre-back. And the reason I'm most angry about all of this is because they're fucking over the new manager. And that makes me really angry. Because there was loads of talk about the tricky... What's the word I'm looking for here? Changeover between coaches from Jurgen to Arne Slot, or whoever the next coach was going to be. And there was a lot of talk that from the likes of Glenn Johnson that maybe the next manager's doomed to fail. That some people perhaps didn't want the job because the shadow of Jurgen Klopp and what he achieved was looming over them. And then we brought in Arne Slot. And he seems like he's up for it. So I don't want him to be used as an easy scapegoat for a lack of investment in the playing squad. I don't want a dodgy start to the season that ends in the manager getting asked a load of questions when he hasn't been given the tools. So, look at the main stars in our squad. Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah and Trent. Let's take them as an example. Up until Conor Bradley broke through, Trent had no competition at right back. Could do what he want and he knew he'd play every week. Virgil has had no competition for the left centre-back role. None. Mohamed Salah, very same thing. That's not healthy. Now, I'm not saying that they would have been displaced, but what I am saying is that familiarity breeds contempt, and we need to keep these guys on their toes. And Jurgen said it himself when he came to the club. It's healthy to front load at the start, but then you just do minor adjustments every season. 2-3 players in, 2-3 players out, freshens up the squad, introduces new faces, and most importantly, increases competition. Maddie Dals, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC. So, really want to just say thank you first of all, because I know this hasn't been an easy couple of weeks for all of us. Every night we're coming in and every night we're wanting positivity, and every night it's been difficult. It's been difficult for me, it's been difficult for you, it's been difficult to address the situation. So I want to say thank you for that. To everyone that's hitting the subscribe button, dropping a like on the videos, thank you for the support you've had. The Eclipse channel is absolutely flying. It's gone over 30,000 subscribers already. Podcast charting in the top 100 in the UK sports. So whatever anybody else is saying, people are on board with what we're saying as a community. And it's growing. And that can't continue to be ignored, because we have valid concerns. We're not idiots. We're not aggro for the sake of it. We have, as fans, valid concerns about what we're seeing at our club. And we're getting silence. Stonewalled. Nothing. Calling it now. We'll do one big signing for... or two 40 million plus signings, said Scouse Gamer. Let me just bring that up on screen as well for you, mate. Like 240 something signings at this point, mate. Like, I'm not necessarily screaming that we have to spend a ton of money. Like, look at the positions we've been talking about. Atalanta midfielder Ederson's about 40 million. That's a realistic fee. Can I see why maybe they don't want to spend 120 million on João Neves? I can understand that. But I can't understand how you can look at Atalanta's midfielder and not see 40 million valuation there. How can you not get Calafiori for 41 million quid and allow your rivals, Arsenal, to strengthen their already strong defence with more cover? I don't get it. What, like, whoever it is we're waiting for, I don't understand why we're waiting. Get it done. Stop making excuses. Stop briefing the media with the nonsense. Get it done, or start facing up to the fact that you're working for, and I'm talking to Edwards, Hughes here, charlatans who have no interest in being competitive. No interest in winning. JG Days said, Craig, I love all three players, but let's be honest, all three have not been playing well. But always, I think a solid DM would help Trent and Virgil. So, the one I can understand is Trent, because I don't know where Trent's going to play. If he's at right back and we lost them, I think Connor Bradley will be an adequate replacement. I don't know what Trent is in midfield, because we haven't seen it. So, that's why I'm so adamant that we sell him if he doesn't want a new deal. If Trent isn't briefing that he has no intention of leaving, then we should be concerned. So if we lost Trent, would it be the end of the world? No. We'd be losing a very good player who has amazing attributes, but is he a master of any particular position? Some would argue right back. And that's where I'd certainly feel his best position is. But I'm also really confident that Connor Bradley is going to be the guy to overtake Trent eventually anyway. So if we lose Trent, we've got him there. Then we bring in a full-back as challenge, cover, whatever you want to call it. Virgil, I don't think I'd sell Virgil this summer. I think I'd rather keep him till he's 34, regardless. But if it meant keep him and sign nobody, or sell Virgil and sign somebody, then unfortunately I'd probably say sell Virgil and sign somebody, because he is 33. And we do need to somehow look to the future. It's really close on the poll. We asked, should Liverpool consider a £50 million fee, as has been reported, for Virgil van Dijk this summer? 49% say yes, 51% say no. We're going to leave that running. Now, for those of you that are voting either way, if you're voting no, are you voting no because you want him to sign a new deal? Because in this consideration here, the real options in our mind should be, does he leave for free or do we sell him? That's what I think you should be thinking about, just with regard to this question. Nick Bull, thank you for your super sticker, mate. Appreciate you. Right, Stephen Dowdle. Thank you, Stephen, for your super chat. Craig, love the show. Looking forward to the live Liverpool show. Keep up the great content. You say what the majority of us are thinking. You'll never walk alone. You have no idea how much that means to me, Stephen. That last bit, that I say what the majority of us are thinking, because I think I agree. And I said it last night, they can silence, mute us, put us in the corner, do what they want, but you cannot deny the channel's numbers. You can't deny that our community is growing because people feel upset, annoyed, lied to, frustrated. And it's okay to feel that way. You shouldn't have to be belittled for asking a question or challenging authority or owners. I would never and have never encouraged anybody to spread vitriol or toxicity or personally go after and attack anybody, be it online or any other way, because that's not how I operate. But I also strongly disagree with football clubs being above reproach and above questions. They should have to answer the challenging questions because they're making a lot of money. They're taking in a lot of money from people who are entitled to know what on earth is going on. So this modern day phenomenon of journalists not being able to really do their job because football clubs are all encompassing and all powerful, that disgusts me. What's wrong with journalists asking difficult, challenging questions? That's their job. But we don't see enough of it. And those of us that do try to do it are painted as toxic, negative, not real fans, belittled, blacklisted. And it annoys me. Because we're being realistic. We're not petulant children. We're not throwing our toys out of the pram because we're not spending 250 million every summer. We've seen the numbers that the club boasts about. We've seen the figures involved in what we've saved in wages, in the commercial deals, in everything we're being told. And we're asking why we can't compete with what other clubs are doing. Why can't we compete with a Villa for a net spend? Why can't we compete with a Manchester United, a Chelsea, a Spurs? Why is it always okay to be lagging behind them? Why is it always okay to give the owners a free pass on not spending what it takes to buy talent these days? Why is that a bad thing? Why, if you challenge these things, are you told that you've never been to Anfield or you don't understand the club? Yeah, we do. Totally understand the club. But I don't give a fuck about John W. Henry, Tom Werner or Mike Gordon because I don't support FSG. I support Liverpool Football Club. There was owners there before them, there'll be owners there after them. And you and I will still be here supporting this football club through thick and thin. But you best believe that you're going to be held to account as custodians of a football club. Because it is your duty to make sure that this football club is thriving and healthy and competitive. And if they're not doing it, we've every right to challenge that and ask for better. TAA 66. I personally think Kwanzaa is already good enough to start if Virgil got sold. Wish we could have got Van de Ven last year. Looks a great player. So on Kwanzaa, I think you'll struggle to find any of us that don't believe Kwanzaa is the real deal. Jarell Kwanzaa is great. And Jarell Kwanzaa is the reason why a lot of us are only talking about one centre-back being brought in. Because before Kwanzaa broke through, the talk was a lot more about two. Now that we have young Jarell, and again, agree with you, mate, absolute baller of a young centre-back. Ibu, we have to be at least honest and say that there's no chance that Ibu's going through a season without some muscle strains and knocks because we haven't seen it yet. So we have to be understanding that to form a relationship at the heart of that defence, which is what most great defences are built on, is centre-back partnerships. Vidic, Ferdinand. Look back through the years. So for us, I would ask, who is the partnership that is going to be robust, that is going to play 60 games in a year? I don't see it. Virgil can only do so much. He was, in my opinion, overplayed last year because we didn't have options. So for me, any top Premier League club that plays with 2 at the back as a centre-back system and not 3 needs 5 centre-backs to go through the rigours of European competition, Premier League games, taking into account the internationals and injuries, and just the sheer volume. You need 5. Right now, we have Virgil, who could be off in a year. We have Jarell Kwanzaa, nothing to add there, good solid player. We've Ibrahima Kanade, who was dropped at the end of last season, couldn't break into the French squad and has carried some niggly injuries. So his form has been patchy at best, but still, benefit of the doubt and all that. So Ibu's there. Then it's Joe Gomez, who, let's be honest, not one of us thinks of as a centre-back anymore. We all think of Joe as a utility man, a Swiss Army knife, can play at left-back, right-back, can fill in at centre-back if needs be. But I always worry about him ball-watching at centre-back personally. And after that, who have we got? Sepp van den Berg, the man who just came out and said that Liverpool are ruining his career, pricing him out of moves and bitching and moaning like a petulant little child. But yeah, I'm supposed to believe he's a leader of men. That's it. That's the list. That's not going to win us a league. One injury there and it's game over again. Craig, what's your dream summer? Riley, I think I've stopped dreaming about big summers. I think I try to be realistic in my summer business. But to answer your question, my friend, Mark Gay of Crystal Palace is the centre-back I want. I'm going to move on to speak about Ignacio in a second because there's something interesting I read on him that I wanted to bring up. In midfield, Ederson from Atalanta is the guy that I would like. And up top, I've always been open about this. I don't know the answer because I don't know what we're looking for. Are we looking for somebody in case DIAZ leaves, like we mentioned earlier on? Or are we assuming that we're keeping all of our forwards for at least one more year? In that case, I look for somebody like a utility player. Somebody who can come in and fill in a couple of roles. Maybe somebody like a Chiesa, who's not going to cost the sun, the moon and the stars. Even somebody like a Yilmaz. If you're only spending 25 million, fair enough. Doesn't have to set the world on fire. So I don't really know in that regard. But on Ignacio, a story that caught my eye on him, and I hope there's truth to this, said that Liverpool are interested, but are trying to get him a 40 million euro. Which would at least give me some peace of mind knowing we're not overpaying. Because that's the figure we could have gotten for last year. So if Lisbon are negotiating and they're willing to take that fee, then I'd have no issue with Ignacio. He wouldn't be my number one choice, but at least there would be some sensibility to the fact that we're bidding a fee that was the initial release clause. Craig, Sam, how are you, mate? Said, Craig, do you agree Tsimikas needs to be sold? He isn't good enough as a backup and just sits on the bench. We need a left back to replace Robertson, who's also dropped in form. Ian Doyle of the Echo writes, at present, there's been no desire from either the club or the player for Kostas Tsimikas to leave. Now, I guarantee you that I can find you 5 or 6 stories from said newspaper that said that Liverpool would not be against the idea if an offer came in, wouldn't stand in the way of Kostas. For the very reason you've said, because he isn't good enough to be the successor to Andy Robertson. Hasn't been and won't be. Is decent, but is not going to be the guy who pushes Andy Robertson week in and week out. So that is another position that we can probably say there's no real competition in. And when he was utilised at Liverpool under Jurgen a lot of the time, it was more when we were losing and we wanted somebody almost like a left winger to come on and give us crossing ability, extra width on the left-hand side, overlapping runs. So he wasn't really even thought of then as a left-back. So yes, I do agree that with respect to Costas, who seems like a lovely, lovely fella, we can do better and should be looking to do better. Carvalho, what's going on with him? Asked Trek Wars. From what I can gather, it looks like, and I agree with this, he's going to be fully looked at in pre-season and a late decision made. And I think that's the right way. You know, because we signed him. He's had loans, some successful, some not. But a new manager's come in, and it's right that he looks at Fabio and makes up his own mind. Wanted to bring him to Feyenoord, so does have a high thought process around Carvalho. But what happens in the end, I don't know. I also look at the amount of players we have in that kind of potential number 10 role and think, ironically, do we have too many of those type of players? But one thing I do want to see this season is Harvey Elliott get more chances. I was really happy to hear Jurgen say that that was one of his biggest regrets of the season, that he didn't get to give Harvey Elliott more chances, because I think he's earned it. Is it just called the Clips channel? Our other channel? Yes, Anfield Agenda Clips, mate. You can scan the QR code in that bottom corner of the screen there, and that will bring you to the Clips channel, or you can just search Anfield Agenda Clips. It's basically the reverse of our logo. So our main channel logo is red and white, and the reverse is white and red. Carvalho slagged off the club last season. Did he? Care to give me the quote, Sean? I'm open to hearing it, mate, if you can find me the quote and write it. Because I don't believe that's the case. So, you know, I'll wait for your quote. Look, Sean, genuinely, I am open to being wrong on this. I think there was some talk about Jurgen at one point, maybe. Yeah, but again, as I said, open to being corrected on that one. It was his Twitter response to Klopp. Exactly. So he was unhappy with the manager. But I get where you're coming from, mate. There's still some validity to your point, Sean. But new manager, I guess, new fresh start for players like Carvalho in that regard. The thing about Van den Berg's comments were that they were this summer after Slot had already come in, and after the club had rejected a really low offer of about, I think, 4 million quid from Mainz for his services. Riley said, Dean Hoytson news, Craig. I don't have, personally, mate, I don't have anything new. Can certainly speak to the fact that we've been linked to the 19-year-old centre-back, spent last season or some of it on loan at Roma. He's got 4 years to run on his Juventus deal. Juventus open to selling the player, price tag of about £25 million. Atletico Madrid also mentioned as interested, but other than that, unless I've missed something, dude, I don't know of anything new. Nathan Allen, mate, you have been absolutely incredibly generous this evening, mate. Another super chat, thank you. So Nathan said, it's not the fact that we haven't signed anyone, it's the fact that we haven't, 1, offloaded anyone, 2, we haven't bid for anybody, and United have bid for so many players, and they used to do nothing. Can I add a number 3 into that for you, Nathan? If you don't mind me jumping into your super chat. So for me, I'd add a number 3, and the number 3 would be, we haven't even sorted out the contract to the players who were already at the club, that we've had so long to sort out. What's happening with the Rio kid? Still awaiting confirmation. Not heard anything to say that deal isn't going to happen. I presume you're speaking about Rio Nyamoha, the young man from Chelsea. Yeah, look, I haven't seen a confirmation of a signature yet, but I also haven't seen anything to say that a potential deal is in jeopardy. But you are right, we were told that deal will be concluded this week. So, you know, as soon as we hear that, and of course, we'll let you know. But as of right now, I'm not aware of anything changing. Ty said, Atalanta is in for Matt O'Reilly from Celtic. Is that the Ederson replacement? So, No, he was being spoken about as the Koopmeiners replacement initially when I read the stories. So the story was Juventus wanted Koopmeiners from Atalanta. Atalanta were, correctly as you've said, looking at Matt O'Reilly from Celtic as a replacement. Then Juventus briefed the media that they're also looking at Matt O'Reilly. I don't know if that's to put a rocket under Atalanta and try and force their hand a little bit or not, but that was the links that I remember. He scored 2 goals actually last night for Celtic as well in a 4-0 victory pre-season game over DC United. Matt O'Reilly with a double in the first half. We've been linked with him according to, what's that dude's name? 1 second. Rudy Galletti. He linked Liverpool as a club that are keeping an eye on Matt O'Reilly as well. But to the best of my understanding, there are a couple of clubs in Serie A that want to bring him in. Sorry. I want to just speak to you about Manchester City's charges for a second, because I read something earlier on that I think makes a lot of sense. I did a short about it, but I'd love to know how you guys feel about it. Leading sports lawyer Nick DeMarco KC believes sports tribunals should be held in the public domain to squash any suspicions over decisions made. Liverpool's rivals Man City were charged with 115 financial breaches a little under 2 years ago. The piece goes on to say, holding sports tribunals, this is a direct quote from Nick DeMarco, holding sports tribunals to account under the public spotlight of publicity is just as important as holding courts to account, and sports tribunals are no less prone to bias, corruption or negligence than are judges. Leading sports lawyer. And I don't think any of you would disagree with that. At least I hope you wouldn't. Why is it that football has a problem with transparency? Why are we afraid of letting the stakeholders, the public, the fans, the lifeblood of the game, why are we afraid to give us the information? Look at Manchester City's Court of Arbitration for Sport hearing and ruling. Look into that and you'll see how snidey and underhanded and closed off that was. We should have every right to see this played out in public. We should know every detail of it. But, as always, secrecy. And we're all fearing potential political interference. We're all fearing geopolitical interference. So, fair play to this lawyer for speaking up. Because he's right. These things should be played out in public. Because they are publicly funded entities, for want of a better phrase. They're owned privately, but it's sport. We should have a right to know what's going on. We are stakeholders in it. Right, TAA66. Thank you, mate, for your super chat. Said, Craig, stupid question, but if I was in charge, as in me, of Liverpool, what things would you do? It's a good question. I'm trying to think of an answer rather than just spout out a one-liner for you. What would I do? I would certainly be more forward-facing at the club. I would be there. I would be at games. I would be there to know that I care, that I'm accountable, and I'm not hiding on the other side of the world. I would also genuinely do everything in my means financially to make sure that the club can compete. I would, of course, try to liaise and listen to feedback of supporters. But more what I wouldn't do, I think, is important. What I wouldn't do is sign the club up to a Super League without any consideration to the history of the club, to the way that its followers consume and have consumed sport. And I wouldn't just put out a press release one day to say, well, this is happening, deal with it. So a lot of what I wouldn't do is more prevalent, I think, to this conversation. I wouldn't have made that horseshit mealy-mouthed apology that John W. Henry did over in Boston, which was PR 101. Let me talk you through it again, just in case you don't remember it. It was a frail-looking John W. Henry, and how do you make him look more frail? Camera above him, pointing down. so he's looking a bit more feeble. Yellow's a calming colour, so let's put yellow flowers on a table randomly beside John W. Henry that don't need to be there. And let's use all the buzzwords. I hear you. You've been heard. Lessons will be learned. Fuck you, John. You would have done it in a heartbeat. And you'll do it again in a heartbeat. You don't care about the club. You're not even showing up. You're on the other side of the world. So I don't believe any of the crap and PR spin that comes out of his mouth. Because it is just that. Lies and manipulation. Another super chat from James. Thank you, James. You're very kind, mate. James said, where's it gone? Sorry I'm late. I'm from Cork and gutted from today's game. James, I don't blame you, mate. It must be incredibly tough because it was such a great final. You guys played incredibly well. You should have had a free at the end. There was a short pull and that wide right at the end. But I hear you, man. You'll come again, though. You'll come again, mate. And thank you for your super chat. So, the poll is still up. It's had 1,270 votes. And we said, should Liverpool consider a £50 million fee for Virgil van Dijk this summer? And 52% of you guys have said no. And 48% have said yes. So, thank you for taking the time to vote in the poll. I really do appreciate it. And as you can see, it's quite close, quite divided. Interesting to see those who voted that they wouldn't take the money. Is that because you'd rather get one more year out of him and let him leave for free? Or do you just not want to get rid of him full stop? Which I understand both, but yeah, it's just concerning in this window. What's this? Who's this from? So, there was a post about Rian Umoha. Anfield Sector said, had a few messages about Rian Umoha last few days with people panicking. As far as I'm aware, it's just gone through the Premier League approval process that can take some time. So, again, great account that one, by the way. If you're on X, do give Anfield Sector a follow. Great account. LFC Transfer Room, of course. Anything Liverpool. Loads of great Liverpool fan accounts. If I'm forgetting anybody, it's not intentionally, but yes, so that's kind of all we really know on that, and I don't have anything to add to that. I don't know anything about the whole Rian Umoha situation other than there's been nothing to indicate that it isn't going to go through. Who was our best defender last season? Virg, absolutely, 100%. No argument for me whatsoever. Statistically, he was up there with the best in Europe as well. But doesn't that make it all the more galling that he hasn't been offered a new deal yet? That you've let him get to this situation where he may feel unloved. He may feel like it's time for a change. Because remember, it hasn't been easy for Virg. Virg has had to deal with a lot of crap from the media over in the Netherlands about his leadership, about the national team, about him as a player at times. He's spoken openly about the toll being club and national team captain has taken on him and how sometimes it's a little bit overbearing. So that's why I've always said, love Virgil the centre-back, love Virgil the man, don't love Virgil the captain. And I don't want to sell him, but I also don't want to lose another player for free. So my preference is give Virgil a new deal, give him 2 more years, and let's go. But again, this narrative about Liverpool being relaxed and waiting until later on in the seasons or in the years to talk with these guys, it's just foolish. Because, let's be honest here, like, if anyone needs convincing, 1, we have a problem. And 2, the longer it goes on, even with the best intentions and the best will in the world, every week that goes by and every week that gets closer to the end of Trent's contract, Mo's contract and Virgil's contract, the price to make them stay also goes up. Because now, not only have you got what they want for wages, what they think their value is to the club, but now you've got people in the rear. Now you've got, let's say, Real Madrid whispering to Trent going, don't sign on. Year's time, move to Real Madrid, nice little signing on bonus, good wage. Say Virgil Van Dijk. Again, don't sign Virgil. We can give you more money than Liverpool are offering you. They're undervaluing you. They don't really want you here. These all sound like stupid things. But remember, Steven Gerrard wasn't feeling the love. Steven Gerrard didn't think the club were fighting to keep him. So how is it a positive statement for the club not to be giving these guys contract offers? Virgil should have been given an offer as soon as Arne Slot was announced. Virgil should have been the very first one, as the club captain, should have been treated with the respect he deserved and given a contract extension. If he doesn't agree to it or wants better terms, that's another whole situation. But he should be told, you're a priority, mate. You're the captain. We're going to get this done. You can't let it drag on now, though. Because now, what if we get off to a poor start? What if we have a wobbly start to the campaign and things maybe aren't looking like Liverpool are going to be title challengers for 2-3 years? But a 33-year-old Van Dijk doesn't have that time. A 32-year-old Salah doesn't have that time. And a 25-year-old prime peak Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's been sold the dream of Madrid. It all just paints a picture of just stupidity. And at the very least, concern. So, again, I don't want to sell Virg. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But not giving these guys new deals, or at least not even publicly being speaking with them and briefing that it's going to be later in the year, it's a dangerous, dangerous game to play. Bayern have come in with a 40 mil bid for Robinson. Are we talking about Anthony Robinson, the Fulham left back? Yeah, look, good player. We've spoken about this before. I like the ENQUIRIES idea for us personally. He's a bit younger. Is Anthony Robinson, I think, is 27, if my memory's right. But he's always impressed me when he's played against us for Fulham. He's a great engine, really good up and down that left-hand side, and was one of the players that I think exploited the space vacated by Trent the most when we played against opposition teams. So, look, another astute piece of business there for Bayern. I still can't believe that they got Elise. That for me is a huge coup for Bayern. If Trent leaves, who's your number one replacement for him? I don't know, because I don't know what I'm replacing. Am I replacing a fullback, or am I replacing a midfielder? The answer is probably Frimpong, because he can cover a few bases, and with the engine of him, the engine of Connor Bradley, and the price as well makes it very appealing. So yeah, I don't know what version of Trent I'm looking to replace. You know, we've got Calvin Ramsey, who's going to go out on loan. Had a really tough time with injuries. He'll go out on loan. So yeah, I don't know what we're replacing, and that's why I'm a bit hesitant to say who the answer is. Would I take Tyreek Mitchell from Palace? Honestly, Ewan, I don't think I've paid enough attention to him individually to know if he'd be good enough or not, mate. I know who he is, but I can't say I've watched enough of him, or at least paid attention to enough of him in games to say one way or the other. And what about Szoboszlai? He needs to pull up his socks, definitely. The Hungarian FA president said that he was even carrying a niggling injury throughout the Euros. So the most concerning thing for me about Dom last season was how fatigued he looked at times, and how inconsistent it was. But I do really believe in him, the player. I think he's more than good enough to be at the club. I hope the injury stuff can be put behind, because he could be so important for us if everything is good and he's right and he's confident and he's settled. Still very young as well. Really like him. I think it was a good signing, and I think he could be, I mean, he won't do these numbers, but he could be a Gerrard type, a De Bruyne type, a driving forward, grab the game by the scruff of the neck type player. And then if you add in there the class and the, I guess, composure of an Alexis McAllister as well, who I like to call our Luka Modric, then yeah. But he does have some unanswered questions. He does need to up his game this year, definitely. Always allow somebody a year to settle in as well. James Delaya, thank you, James, for your super chat, mate. Said, thanks for your reply. I love my country, and Christ do I love Liverpool. I love my county, sorry. And Christ do I love Liverpool. I'm feeling like I've been kicked in the nuts over the last 24 hours. Yeah, I was hoping you'd win it, mate. But honestly, you know, Clare are a likeable team as well. And you'll come again. So, I hear you. But thank you for being in with us. And look, at the Liverpool side of it, every day there's a running joke now with me and Connor, and I message him when I get up and I go, what's the big exciting news that I'm going to be recording a video on today, Connor? And every day so far it's been, unfortunately, SFA. Is Kevin De Bruyne going to Saudi? Apparently not. There have been reports that De Bruyne is going to go to, was it Al Ittihad? But there was another report later on to say that there's absolutely nothing to it and he has no interest in going. So I don't know is the honest answer. Moussa Diaby though, he's done. It is Moussa, right? He's done anyway. 60 million deal. I want to get your thoughts on this centre-back that we've been linked with from Leverkusen. And by the way, how many bleeding centre-backs do Leverkusen have? I feel like we've been linked with about 9 now. So, Kossounou, 40 million euro. Thoughts? I don't know much about him, so I'm hoping you guys can fill me in. But yeah, thoughts on him at 40 million? Is it him? We did our poll yesterday. We did the centre-back semi-finals and final. And Mark A won hands down. I think Pacho was there or thereabouts as well. Inacio was of interest. Matip will do great at Leverkusen. Yes, it'll be a good move for Joel. Back to the Bundesliga. The thing about Joel is it was just really unlucky. We couldn't take the chance of how long it would take Joel to get back up to speed after the ACL with his age and stuff as well. But I've nothing but love for Joel Matip and I wish him every success if he goes to Leverkusen. He's a lovely guy. One of the best free transfers we've ever had. And I'm really, really saddened with how his time at the club came to an end because he deserved better than that. He was just so unlucky with that injury. Right, so he's a very fast and physical centre-back with good potential, said Marshall. Somebody else said big yes on him, said Gino Salvador Morin. Craig Pershers is a good centre-back from Torino. He's a name that we were linked to previously as well. Not seen too much recently on Pershers. Williams Gay Frimpong, problem solved, said Ian. Don't think Szoboszlai can handle going box to box. Better play him forward, said Brian. He could operate on the right, which I think was more the right number 10 position where he played at Leipzig, if I'm not mistaken. Craig the Unicorn. This is now my new favourite channel name, by the way. Craig the Unicorn. I'm loving it. Said, if you are a Liverpool fan and you don't appreciate this man, well, simply put, you don't deserve him. Great show, Craig. You're very kind, mate. Can I hire you to do all my publicity? Appreciate that, mate. Thank you. And on that, I want to just remind people, it is now just 2 weeks. 2 weeks from this very day, we're going to be in Liverpool at the Hot Water Comedy Club. 2 weeks from the Friday just gone, we'll be over in Cardiff at the Richard Burton Theatre. The tickets to those 2 shows, which of course includes meet and greets and everything else, is priced at just £15, 15. You can still get a group of 4 tickets for the Cardiff show for 50 quid. There's one of those left, I believe. And there are, I think there's about 30 tickets left, maybe a few more for the Liverpool show. We sold out the first show. We've moved to a bigger theatre and those tickets are moving along as well. Last shows I'm going to do as a stage show. So if you want to come and see us, meet us in person, those 2 shows are where you can do it. Tickets are available with the link at the top of the chat or in the description of the stream, and it's an all ages event, both of them. So teenagers, grandparents, everybody's welcome along. Also going to be recording tomorrow as well with Jack Gill, episode number 3 of the Anfield Agenda podcast. That will be out on Tuesday, so make sure you search all your favourite podcast platforms, search Anfield Agenda, and we should show up there. So the way the podcast is going to work is this. On a Monday, we're going to record an episode with me and Jack. Be about 45 to 50 minutes long. That'll come out on a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, I'm going to record a solo podcast every week of about 20 to 25 minutes. That comes out on a Thursday. Both the podcasts are, of course, entirely free. They're audio only, and you can find them on all the podcast apps. Spotify, Acast, Apple Podcasts, whatever your platform choice is, you'll find us on there. Tifa, thank you for your super chat. Let me just bring it up on screen for you. Said, hi Craig, what are your ideal signings for the season? I'm pretty realistic, as I said. Mark Gay at centre back, Atalanta's midfielder Ederson, and then look up top. Depends on what happens. I want a forward. We've been linked with a forward. I'd like Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon. I have a feeling we'll see Anthony Gordon at Liverpool at some point in the near future. Whether it's this summer or next summer, I'm not sure. Jason the Red, how are you, mate? Welcome in. Said 2 weeks to go till the highlight of my year. Oh, mate, that's really kind of you. 2 weeks to go until Craig is vomiting in a bucket at the side of the stage just before he goes on with nerves. That's what I'm thinking. But I can't wait. Honestly, Cardiff, Liverpool. I've wanted to do a show in Liverpool since we started the channel. We'll have done 4 stage shows in a year. Dublin, Belfast, Cardiff, Liverpool. I can't wait, Jason. I can't wait to come and meet everyone. I can't wait to be back over and show my son around Liverpool as well. He's never been over. So yeah, I'm buzzing, mate. Buzzing for it. Buzzing for the show, and of course to get back over to Liverpool. And most importantly, to meet everybody. I love being able to put faces to names. Do you think FSG will stump up the cash for Gordon? Yes, once we get Mohamed Salah's wages off the books. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Mohamed Salah's wages at 350k. And remember, Rami Abbas Issa said he makes about £1 million a week all in. But on his 350k a week wages, that's what? 17.5 million a year in wages alone. So over the course of a 5-year deal, let's say, for Anthony Gordon, if you throw in his wages, it's all doable. Because the way they're putting the club's book, it's called amortization. You basically get the transfer fee and the player's wages divided by the amount of contract years left, and that's the figure that the player costs you each year on the club's books. So yes, I think it is possible. But you know what I'm still baffled at? How we haven't used the £18.7 million we saved in wages from Thiago, Joel Matip and Adrian yet. That concerns me as well, because they were quick to brag about it in the media. It was quick to tell us all that we'd save that money and that was going to be a master plan. None of it used yet. Mark said, on Spotify UK, we're 44th. Nice. Nice. Wow. Thank you for your support, lads. That's incredible. Didn't think we'd be sailing up that high in the charts already in the podcast. Well, thank you. Colin said, I can't wait to meet you in Liverpool and get a photo. My pleasure, mate. Every show we've done, we've always made sure afterwards we stuck around, met everybody that wanted to meet us, took photographs and had a chat. It's the very least we can do for your continued support. Right, my friends, I'm going to call that a night, and I'm going to go get ready for... I'm going to grab something to eat, in all honesty, and then I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. We'll be back, same time, same place, 8:45, Anfield Agenda, Late Night Agenda live. There will be a news video out at midday, and then we'll have another video out tomorrow as well. To everyone that came in tonight, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Really appreciate every one of you that hits that button. Don't forget to check the Clips channel out as well. And yeah, much love for all of you for continued support of the channel. Hopefully, we've got some more positivity coming our way soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Talk to you.